We shall hunt down and bring to justice the treacherous cowards who launched this attack. A partial list identifies them as Commodore Domingo Calahati, Philippine Navy; General Jose Comendador, Philippine Air Force; Colonel Alexander Noble, Philippine Army; Captain Proceso Maligalig, Philippine Navy; Lieutenant Colonel Romelino Goho, Philippine Navy Marines; Major Abraham Puruganan, Philippine Army; Lieutenant Colonel Diosdado Tabamo, Philippine Army; General Edgardo Abenina, PC; Captain Danilo Pizarro, Philippine Navy; Captain Fermin Quizon, Philippine Navy; Cashiered Captain Felix Turingan, Philippine Navy; Lieutenant Colonel Reynaldo Ochoa, Philippine Army. General Cacanando reports the following rebel officers have surrendered: Colonel Luisito Sanchez, Philippine Army, and Lieutenant Colonel Rafael Galvez, Philippine Army 1st Scout Ranger Regiment. Lieutenant Colonel Franklin Bronner, Philippine Army, has also surrendered. We shall also root out those who have given aid and comfort to these traitors, for they themselves are traitors to the Republic and the Constitution. I speak of leaders of the opposition and other civilians who have collaborated with the rebel officers and encouraged, financed, and in any other manner given aid and comfort to the enemy. To this end, I shall exercise all the powers, prerogatives, and influence of the presidency to the fullest extent. The Constitution shall not be perverted to shield those who seek to destroy it. I can accept any threat to my life, including the most serious one yesterday, but I cannot tolerate these unrelenting and brutal attempts to destroy our country. This event proves that the price of liberty is eternal vigilance, and its triumph is the last sacrifice of the brave. This is a day for congratulations indeed, but it is also a day of prayerful thanksgiving. We thank those who remembered us in their prayers, for I still believe that above the roar of gunfire, their prayers were heard. Marami pong salamat sa lahat ng inyong mga dasal at mga panalangin. Naway patnubayan lagi tayo ng may kapal. Maraming salamat at magandang hapon sa inyo. Adolf, you want to speak?
Meanwhile, government forces backed by Air Force jets continue to battle rebel troops in the vicinity of Camp Aguinaldo as the worst attempt against the Aquino government raged for a second straight day. So far, 24 have died, while more than 80 others have been wounded. Grace de la Peña reports from Libis, Quezon City.
Immediately after President Aquino vowed to quell the rebellion before the end of the day, the military continuously sent out helicopter gunships against members of the Reform the Armed Forces movement. Several Sikorsky helicopters were dispatched to flush out remaining rebels from their hiding places in residential areas. A fire broke out near Camp Aguinaldo. Around 4 houses were razed along Katipunan Avenue in Blue Ridge, Quezon City. Witnesses said a helicopter fired at the house, causing a fire. The target must have been a tank seized by renegade soldiers parked some 2 houses away. Some 300 soldiers were holed in at the house behind the tank. The threat of a fire forced soldiers wearing red stickers on their sleeves to flee to another area. They seized 3 more houses, one of them under construction along nearby White Plains Avenue. An armored personnel carrier was hidden inside the unfinished house, while a jeep was inside the garage of another. The rebels looked tired and hungry as they appealed for food from residents, but they refused to surrender. A rebel Marine lieutenant reacted to President Aquino's remarks, vowing to end their effort to topple the government before the day is over. He said that their instructions were, do or die. A Sikorsky helicopter hovered over the area for about an hour at noon today before bombing the area 3 times. However, all 3 rockets missed their targets.
Hindi pwede rito, hindi pwede.
Checkpoints were also set up in different parts of Metro Manila to control rebel troop movement. One such checkpoint at the corner of EDSA and Ortigas intercepted 2 vehicles of the Philippine Airlines. A Capcom official said a Lancer car and a Hi-Ace were commandeered by several rebel soldiers to deliver high-powered firearms and supplies to their comrades.
Na-intercept namin itong mga rebelde na soldiers na ito mga alas 10:30 ng umaga. At saka ito pala yung sign nila. Yung sign para sa kanilang katauhan na sila ay rebelde. Sa kasalukuyan yung nahuli namin mga rebelde ay dinala sa hilltop para ma-interrogate and then for investigation. Saka yun sila ay nasa itaas at ngayon nga nagsasagwa pa kami ng checkpoint. Sa utos na rin ng aming commander, si General Aguirre.
Grace De La Peña, GMA News.
Other rebel soldiers continue to hold out in certain portions of Fort Bonifacio. Villamor Air Force Base, on the other hand, remain inaccessible to the public for security reasons after it was reportedly recaptured by government forces. Flight operations at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport and domestic airport remain suspended. Jimmy Hill filed this report.
NAIA General Manager Edgardo Carrascoso today said that flights in both the international and domestic airports remain suspended for security reasons while cleaning operations continue. It was noted that all runways in both airports are ready for outgoing and incoming flights, but airport authorities prefer that operations remain suspended. Carrascoso said the Ninoy Aquino International Airport may resume normal operations tomorrow, but it would take another couple of days for the domestic flights to resume in Manila.
Well, the situation here has normalized, and hopefully, if the personnel of the vital facilities are back by this afternoon, we'll be holding normal flights.
So that's in a way of saying by tomorrow, more or less, things will be back to its former form.
Yes, that's true. Hopefully, the facilities of the immigration and the other immigration and customs are also ready.
What is the situation at the domestic airport?
Well, right now, we are inspecting, PAPSICOM and our staff are inspecting all of the remnants which was left by the rebel forces now. And we are not taking any chances as far as what they left is there. And therefore, it will take us probably up till tomorrow or tomorrow afternoon before we can declare the domestic open.
PAPSICOM's Commanding General Renato Estacio said things are back to normal at the NAIA and the domestic airport while his men are continuing their securing of the two airports. General Estacio emphasized that the NAIA was never taken over by rebels while the domestic airport was allowed to be taken over to avoid bloodshed.
We would like to rectify the news that NAIA was taken over by the rebel. Never that the NAIA was taken over. We have under control, except for the domestic airports, which I gave up to avoid bloodshed. Actually, they were overrun. 1-to-3 ratio, they have 2 tanks. But NAIA have been under our control all the time from 24 hours that we were under siege.
Sir, could you give us now the current overall situation?
Well, as far as the overall situation here at the domestic airport, we have under control. In fact, we are now allowing 1 aircraft to 1 international flight to leave for proper screening. Just for security, this is our role here at NAIA.
As rebel soldiers continued their retreat towards Fort Bonifacio this afternoon, a rebel-driven 6x6 rammed a brand-new Galant, injuring 4 of its occupants. Here's an eyewitness account of the incident at the corner of EDSA and McKinley Road.
What happened was this car was going not at a fast speed, just following the light, and this army truck was coming from that side of Ayala. He did not stop, dragged him along. After he bumped him, he was backing up kasi nasabit ayaw ma-disengage. So he was trying to back up to let go of it. He didn't want to stop. What he did was he got out. He had this orange red badge here. He got out with a gun and ran towards McKinley all the way. No one stopped him. And people around stopped their cars, pulled 3 people out of the car, one woman who looked like very serious. I don't know if she's still alive. The driver, who was a Mumbai man, and there was one more fellow behind the car, badly.
Meanwhile, the Guadalupe and Forbes Park gates of Fort Bonifacio remained barricaded, preventing any flow of traffic, while the South Expressway gate is open, though restricted, indicating further that the fort remains under the control of rebel soldiers who reportedly are planning another assault on Villamor Air Base. The Villamor Air Base gates remain closed, and soldiers manning the gates refuse to give any information as regards developments inside the base, except to say they have recovered it from rebellious Philippine Marines who took over the base complex early Friday morning. Towards noon today, hundreds of rebel soldiers were seen returning to Fort Bonifacio from the Ayala Avenue area and reportedly are soldiers are now wearing tangerine signs instead of the white patches they wore Friday. Jimmy Hill, GMA News.
General Jose Comendador, 2nd Air Division Commander, had also taken control of Mactan International Airport in Cebu City. However, General Comendador only had 2 transport planes and no fighter jets, and that his pilots had deserted him. We have this report from GMA Cebu.
Ano bang sitwasyon dyan, overall situation sa Cebu sa kasalukuyan?
Okay, at present, wala namang mga actual encounter, ano? But I have something to read for Manila people regarding the developments now prevailing in Mactan Air Base.
Okay.
I just want to read the news item that I prepared, ano?
Sige.
Philippine Air Force 2nd Air Base Commander Brigadier General Jose Comendador this afternoon announced for the first time through the radio that he is supporting the military coup in Manila. Comendador at the same time asked Cebuanos to take sides now so that they can properly act on the basis of the general sentiment of the people. Comendador also denied that he sent reinforcement troops to Manila yesterday. The Mactan Air Base commander also said that he is negotiating with the commanders of Visayas Command, Regional Command, and all local military commands for a possible talk and avoid military confrontation. He said he confined the rebel forces now at Mactan Air Base so that bloody confrontation is prevented. On the request of President Aquino for air support from the United States, Comendador said we have just lost our leverage in the negotiation for the military bases. Lieutenant Colonel Tiburcio Posiliero, who was earlier reported to be under the custody of RECOM 7 Chief Brigadier General Raul Imperial, is now with Comendador in Mactan Air Base. The custody of Posiliero by RECOM 7 Chief Imperial was announced during a press conference called by Imperial himself last night. End of story. Yun lang, pare.
Ang ibig sabihin, they are holding out dito sa Mactan Airport.
Sabi nga ni General Comendador na yung gusto daw sa sumapi sa grupo niya, we just cross the bridge, yung sa Mactan Bridge. Yan ang sitwasyon ngayon.
Any plan? Dininay niya na nagpadala siya ng reinforcement troops dito sa Maynila. Wala ba silang plano? Because isa ito sa mga pamba, because meron silang mga choppers dyan at aeroplano.
Sinabi niya na he's not planning to send them to Manila.
So, naka-poste siya doon sa pag-confine lang doon sa mga rebel groups within Mactan Airport.
Kasi ang sabi niya, pag ayaw niya magpadala ng helicopter sa mga planes doon dyan sa Maynila dahil doesn't want to invite the attention of the military air support to Mactan Airport.
Former Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Oscar Tito Legazpi and 5 other coup plotters were arrested by constabulary troopers Saturday morning in San Fernando, Pampanga. Legazpi, one of the closest associates of fugitive coup leader ex-Army Lieutenant Colonel Gregorio Onasan, was arrested by troopers manning a PC checkpoint in San Fernando. Legazpi's group was trying to elude government troopers tracking down mutineers who initially controlled the naval base at Sangli Point, Cavite last Friday. In his report to Major General Ramon Montaño, PCINP Chief Brigadier General Gerardo Flores, PCINP Intelligence Chief, identified Legazpi's companions as Captain Elmer R. Amon, Captain Vergel M. Nasino, First Lieutenant Wilfredo Jimenez, and First Lieutenant Joey Sarosa, all of the Air Force, and former Army Private First Class Arnulfo R. Narido. Taken from Legazpi's group was a .45 caliber pistol. Flores said that after government troops had regained control of Sangli Point Friday, Legazpi and his men fled by boat for Pampanga. Then they hired a passenger jeepney in San Fernando on their way back to Manila, but were intercepted by PC troops led by Captain Hilarion Kiba and Francisco Manalo of the Pampanga PC Provincial Command. Legazpi and his men were in civilian clothes when arrested. They were brought by PCINP Recom Intelligence operatives to Camp Crame and presented to General Montaño. Legazpi is suspected to be one of the pilots of a Sikorsky helicopter gunship that bombed the Camp Crame headquarters building yesterday. Legazpi also held hostage then Air Force Chief Major General Antonio Sotelo during the August 28, 1987 coup by Onasan's group. He was Onasan's classmate at the Philippine Military Academy. This is Tina Palma for GMA News.
Cannon or guns. We were just showing a force, some sort of a show of force, that we are here ready, and if we are...
Several coup participants. The Villa then placed on red alert all military units in the country.
Hill Nasino, Captain Elmer Armon, and First Lieutenant Joey Sarosa. He said the 3 planes that have already dropped rockets in Malacanang, Camps Crame and Aguinaldo, were already on their way to Hacienda Luisita when they called in the F-5 fighter planes. However, it was only after the first F-5 fighter plane crashed that the 2 other jets did their business right. The crash of the F-5 jet, which was initially denied by the authorities, happened when the plane nosedived too low for it to recover its bearing after releasing the 2.75-inch folding fin aerial rocket to its target. The jet with Major Danilo Atienza on board continued its fall after the dive and hit the oil depot with its tail and another oil tank with its wings. What remained of the F-5 after the crash is best evidenced by its own debris. But whatever hesitation Major Atienza and his 2 comrades showed when they were first called, what they have achieved far more than paid in favor of the government. This afternoon, the casket bearing Atienza's body was flown by this Huey helicopter for its last flight to his mother unit. With cameraman Dandy Seva and Ferdy Ruzal, Romy Del Moro, GMA News.
Military officials in the camp confirmed the presence in Sangli of Captain Felix Turingan,